Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back. It's my 2 cents. I want to jump in this issue and give my little 2 cents. They're little coins in the bay of what everybody's been talking about. And the late issue that I want to talk about is the link between video game violence and real life aggression and school shootings and all those bad things going on in the world. And it's here to say that it doesn't exist. There is no link. So why this topic popped up is because I was hearing about this recent thing that happened a couple weeks ago between a president and a bunch of video game designers, or video game lead artists, or people who are in charge of making the video games. And basically, they had a huge talk about how what we can do, the regulations that need to happen, and all this stuff needs to happen because video games are causing all this violence that is happening in the world. What's interesting about that whole meeting is that they didn't invite, say, like scientists or social experimental studies, the facts, people who can really identify and tell you what's going on here. But no, they just invite people who make the video games because they have all the authority on it, right? So let's talk about then why is this link happening? Well, as you may, if you haven't been watching the news, what school shootings happening, and some people have reported that I do play violent video games. They say, well, that's it right there. They play violent video games. Well, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't exist. Like I said, there's no study that has really proven that this exists. And one of the recent studies in January has one of the largest sample size of 3,000 people that went into this. And they basically checked all different kind of things, like if they play video games, do they identify differently in life? There's aggression level change? Does hyperrealism sense start happening? All these different things that they tested, and they kept concluding that no, it doesn't change anything. There's no causation of it. You cannot conclude that video games are the result of violence. And later, I read a different article that went into it. Says, well, let's talk about why, if there's some studies that do conclude that video games do violence, why is that? Why is there some that contradict each other? Like I said, most video game studies that conclude that there's a causation don't conclude, they conclude it in a vacuum. They basically say, well, if they're violent, they play video games, then there's an obvious connection. But they look at it, again, in that vacuum, just those two things linking together. What we need to look at is everything around it. Well, is video games causing this violent behavior, or they predisposition to violence before, and it's just coming out? It has nothing to do with video games. They could have ate a different bowl of cereal for breakfast, and it could have been the wrong bowl of cereal, and they could have done the violence anyway. That has nothing to do with the video game. So you need to look at, well, again, statistics and numbers and big things that really get into this. Did you know that ages 12 to 17, 97% of those kids play video games? And this comes from people against it. American Psychology Association and American Academy of Pediatrics are reporting the statistics that they've been doing. They said, well, we need to stop this because 85% of these games are violent and 97% of kids are playing them. Well, if that's true, then if 85% of the 97% of the population is playing them, then wouldn't we have that many school shootings? Wouldn't there that many things happening in the world? If there's a link between violent video games and violent behavior, then wouldn't that be happening every single day at every single school with every single kid playing violent video games, just mass chaos and anarchy in the world? It would, right? If that causation exists, then that would be happening, but it's not. School shootings statistically are not that common. They're actually pretty rare. If you look at all the schools, all the kids in the world, yeah, school shootings are bad. And they do happen. They suck. They really do. I'm not trying to say they're good, but they're not that common. You don't have one nearly every single day at every single school. You have them scattered about, maybe 1 or 2 a month, So what I'm saying is that maybe we should look at the reason why these school shootings happen in the first place. Maybe have, better health care for the kids, psychology things, helping through counseling. Me going through high school, having to carry 10 different textbooks on my back because the school is just pushing down your throat with stuff, with stress, and you have all this homework to do, so you have till 3 a.m. to get it done, just to have it fail you the next day anyway, so it just drives your stress level up the wall. Have we thought about those things, how our system works, education works as a system? No? Have we thought about the fact that we have to go through textbooks this big for every single class? In my high school, I took 7 a day, 7 classes a day, and I had a textbook this big for every single one of them, and I could do that every single one of those a year? Talk about that kind of stress, the levels, maybe bullying, social media, the effects it has on us. Have we talked about that? All these different things that can go into it, and we just want to, video games. It's video game violence that does it, let's pick something easy. Let's not talk about the real issue, let's pick something easy, and just go after it, right? That's what we do, that's what politicians do, right? That's what all we ever do is that. So I'm here to say that my 2 cents is we need to stop blaming video game violence and start blaming the real causation of it and look into that more. We're doing all these studies, wasting time, talking about causation that doesn't exist, and maybe we should focus that money into actually providing real help for kids and people. And so that is my 2 cents. If you like the video, like it. If you don't, if you leave a comment, let me know what you didn't like and some arguments I may have missed, some things I may have overlooked. I hope, again, you're wonderful. You're wonderful, you know that. Hope you know that. I think you're wonderful, at least. nobody else does. Have a wonderful day, wonderful life, and I'll see you maybe next week, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.